I don't know. Alrighty. How y'all doing? I'm only 3 minutes late to this live stream, and it's my birthday. I'm another year older than I was yesterday. Um, yeah, so it says I have a couple viewers. I don't know if you're all there. If you can hear me, I don't know. Looks like I have audio. Uh, yeah, how y'all doing? So I'm gonna try. I think I'm gonna try and do this regularly on Fridays, probably around this time. And hey, thank you, Rob. So is everything good with the video and the audio? Just checking. I don't know. Thank you, user number two. User number two. Um, like this video. I heard. I guess I've been hearing from other people that are doing live streams. If you like the video, the more people that like the video, the more people see the stream. There you go. But thank you for joining in. And I just want to talk about user number two. So I've seen one of your music videos just now. Cool. What'd you think? Hope you liked it. Let's see. I need to get back to pretty good. Thank you. I look younger and happy. Yeah, I feel pretty good. I slept in today, so that's birthday gift to me was that I slept longer than I usually sleep. Um, I don't know. I'm getting warning messages from YouTube saying blah blah blah. Something's wrong with your video. But anyways, if you guys can see me and hear me, that's all good. Hopefully this will hold up for a little while. I'm not going to go for too long. I'm going to go for about a half an hour, I think. So thank you all for upbeat and funky. It must have been my latest video. But yeah, I want to cover a couple things. Don't know. The shirt has hip hop vibes. Um, there was, yet another Friday climate strike today, ongoing. My week was so insane. So something in my personal life just shifted like completely this week, and I had very little time to do anything, and I didn't really promote the Friday gas strike. So hopefully you guys are remembering to promote the Friday gas strike, or honor the Friday gas strike is what I'm trying to say. Uh, I am doing my best to do that. Do it every single Friday. So I posted something in the community section of the channel. I will continue to remind people. If you follow me on Twitter, it's Black Bear News 1 at Black Bear News 1 on Twitter. The link is always in the description box of most of my videos. Thank you guys for the birthday. Yeah, it's only coming through the left speaker. I don't know what that is. When I do videos on, I don't know what that's about. When I do videos on QuickTime, it only comes through the left speaker. So I apologize for that. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know what to do about that. I can't really fix that at the moment, but if you're hearing something, that's fine. Thank you, Deb Van Poolen, and I appreciate your openness to various and related viewpoints. I know that some people like me to stick to one, subject. I don't know. We know what's happening with climate change, and there's, that's basically what this channel is about. However, climate change is a huge subject, and it covers many, many different areas of human existence and non-human existence. But we're humans. We're the only ones that are capable of really talking about this and being aware of this. So I guess, it's up to humans to discuss. User number 2, it's coming through both of my speakers. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a end user thing or not. I'm sorry about that if that's what's happening, if that's what you're hearing. So I want to cover just a couple of things while we're here, and just, we'll kind of just, go back and forth and discuss various things. But news story I saw today, marathoners wilt in Qatar's oppressive heat. So I guess, or Qatar, excuse me. Let me pronounce that correctly. They're holding a marathon in Qatar, and they started it at midnight, and it was 30 C, 30 C with 80% humidity. So that's so, in the 80s, at midnight in the 80s with 80% humidity, you know how terrible that feels. The humidity kills you, is basically what nearly half the athletes participating in the women's marathon at the IAAF World Athletics Championship in Doha on Sunday pulled out of the race in what the Telegraph described as shocking scenes of multiple athletes collapsing in distress. Despite starting the race at midnight, runners were battling 30 Celsius temperatures and humidity levels above 80%. And you could say 2 years ago, Human Rights Watch released a report on the failure of the government to implement adequate heat regulations to protect the lives of workers toiling away outdoors. The report also documented the government's lack of transparency on migrant worker deaths. Today, despite repeated warnings of potentially fatal heat-related illnesses and precise recommendations on how to improve working conditions for migrant workers, heat protection regulations for workers in Qatar still only prohibit outdoor work at midday hours. I mean, this obviously is somewhat climate change related, or it is climate change related. I don't know about the wisdom of holding a marathon in a Middle Eastern country, that's generally hot and generally humid. So, same with, the Tokyo, the Olympics are going to be held next year in Tokyo. And they're already talking about the problems with the heat, although Tokyo is known to be hot and humid in the summertime. So, obviously, this is being exacerbated by climate change, the hot weather and the humidity. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you guys for the birthday wishes. Thank you. Obviously, the heat and humidity is being worsened by climate change, but obviously, these countries are known to have hot and humid weather, especially in the summertime, so we're still kind of in, this is the end of the summer. So, yeah. There seems to be growing awareness around people working in hot and humid countries at certain times of day and certain times of the year. And all of that is getting worse. Hello, how you doing? Natural Progressive, good to see you. So they started the race at midnight, thinking that it would be cooler. And if any of you know what 85 degrees and 80% humidity feels like, if anybody lives in Florida, you know what that feels like. Not fun. I've tried to sleep in that weather in Florida when it's 80 degrees out or hotter and it's 80% humidity or 90% humidity. It's absolutely impossible. Japan radioactive. You cannot take a Western Geiger counter there. Thank you guys. Appreciate you for the happy birthdays. Couldn't think of a better way to spend my birthday. But talking to you all about the situations. I don't really have anything going on. I had dinner with my family last night. But I'm just kind of hanging out today. I'm actually going to go to work, I think, for a little while, and then hang out with my special person later, and that's about it. Good evening, Gigabane. I don't know where you're at. It's 1 6:15 in the afternoon here. I understand the time is all over the place for anyone. Warlord Pliskin, hi all. Anyone following the new fiasco in Iraq where the CIA is trying to overthrow their democratically elected government? I haven't heard that or anything about that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. You know, the CIA is kind of going crazy. And if you want to just take a little dive for a moment into the thing. So this thing that's going on with the Ukraine and Russia with the Ukraine and Trump I don't think it is disconnected or unconnected to other situations in the world. You recently had, you've had certain people in the government trying to push Trump into wars with Venezuela and Iran. And so far that hasn't happened. Despite all the threatening talks, London, okay, yeah, you guys are a little bit later. So 11 o'clock or 9 o'clock there. That's right. You're 8 hours ahead. So yeah, I can do math. Anyways, yeah, there's been a push by whatever you want to call them, the military industrial complex or the deep state or the intelligence communities to get us into some more wars. They haven't really gone anywhere. I mean, we've done our best to do that, but there's been a lot of resistance. And I'm going to say thank you, Natural Progressive. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate y'all. If any of you guys are feeling like, donating to the channel while we're doing this, you can hit the money thing and super chat below. Most of you know what's going on with that. But thank you so much. I appreciate you. Natural Progressive says, love you being live, working now, so can only mostly listen. Remember, Kevin has super chat. Happy B-Day. Click the like. Yes, and if you can click the like while you're watching, it means more people know that I'm live and more people can see this. And I know that I sprung this on you this morning. I didn't really give anybody a heads up. I'm going to try and do this every Friday now. That's a new resolution for me. We'll see how long it takes. So what I was saying was, yeah, we've been trying to get these things going with other countries and get ourselves into yet more regime change kind of situations. And so far, it looks like actually on some levels Trump is resisting this. And he also, the thing about trying to have peace talks with the Taliban in Afghanistan pissed off John Bolton. He fired John Bolton. Some people are saying this whole thing with Ukraine is retribution for him not playing along with the game. Right? So they're like, okay, man, you fired John Bolton. We've been trying to get these things going. You're not playing ball. You're not actually doing the things that we want to do. And, and so they're like, so the whistleblower was a CIA operative. and that's, well known and well documented. That was somebody in the CIA. Bring the troops home. User 2 says, bring the troops home. Thank you. Absolutely. So, yeah, so they just they drum up this shit. He's on a call with the Ukraine, and pretty much the left liberal media is just completely running headlong with it and going, yeah, Trump is absolutely corrupt, but let's not pay attention to the fact that Biden is, fairly corrupt himself and doing, profiting, and his sons and family is profiting off of his position. And, Hillary Clinton also profited greatly from her position. And when the Ukraine regime change little coup took place, or, that revolution took place a few years ago when Obama was in office, it was largely underneath Obama and Hillary Clinton. And there was some kind of money exchange in all of that as well. If you want to dig deeper, there are other, I'm kind of just parroting and talking about some things that other channels are talking about as well, progressive channels, Jamal Thomas, Tim Black, Jimmy Dore, Secular Talk. Please tune into any of those. Bring the troops home and let them plant trees. Exactly, Natural Progressive. Thank you. Anyways, we need trees, not more war. Exactly. So yeah, this situation with uh, Trump and the CIA and the deep state and who knows. It's insane what is going on. And Physicist says, please hug dog. Yes, I hugged. That's the first thing I did this morning was come out and give my dog a big, long pet, a scratch, and a hug. And so she got some good love today. And I think we're going to go for a little run when I'm done with this video. So, yeah, so let me see. Where was I in this talk about? So let's go back to some. Oh, so here's actually an article that I want to cover. We were talking about regime change and the deep state. So there's this article from HuffPost. What if the world treated the U.S. like a rogue state? And they're saying basically under that we're a rogue state under President Trump. And considering the fact that we got ourselves into regime change war in Iraq under President Bush, that we got ourselves into even 5 more wars under President Obama. We were in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we went into Syria, Libya. What are the other ones that I'm forgetting? I'm sure Somalia. There's like 5 other countries that we're in now, bombing and doing military maneuvers, and that all happened under Obama, and yet we're going to call, but under Trump, we're a rogue state. Okay. We've been operating like a rogue state for a very long time, and it'd be great if supposedly liberal media or lefty media could possibly go back in time just a little bit further and cover other situations that happened under other presidents. And it's not, Trump is just the face of American imperialism with the mask off. That's all he is. That is not to say that he's okay or what he's doing is okay, that he's a good guy. Not at all, not on any level. I'd like Trump to go soon, and very soon. But we can vote him out. We can vote him out if we vote for the right person. And I don't even have to say who that is because you all know who I'm talking about. Going south. Do you want to come online with me? When are you talking about? I'm streaming through. If you're talking about right now, I'm streaming through YouTube. But we can do. I would love to do an interview with you or a live session with you going south. Absolutely. Let's set up a time. But anyway, so this article, from the Huffington Post is interesting. It's actually quite long. But I'm going to link it below if you guys want to check it out. My dog has found somebody to bark at. Moving on to something from the Salk Institute. Salk Institute gets $35 million for audacious plan to fight global warming with carbon-hungry plants. Has anybody seen this? This is from the San Diego Union Tribune. The Salk Institute will receive more than $35 million, one of its largest donations ever, to design plants to fight global warming. And plants can fight global warming. But anyways, they're talking about specific plants. So maybe we're talking about some kind of... let's read on. The grant from the TED Audacious Project goes to Salk's Harnessing Plants initiative, which seeks to breed and genetically engineer plants to soak up more carbon dioxide from the air. Plants already store CO2, a greenhouse gas that climate scientists say contribute to increases in global temperatures as part of their natural metabolism. So Joanne Chori, Salk plant scientist who heads the initiative, the goal is to increase storage, especially in the roots. Material would remain in the soil, CO2. So it sounds like, kind of what people would do with permaculture, organic farming, rewilding. But what makes this different? This can be done with regular food crops. The initiative is targeting the biggest crops for maximum effect. All right, so, these include rice, corn, wheat, rye, and cotton. So, the crops that are being grown. But how they store carbon I don't know. About 25% of the carbon dioxide added to the air by human activity could be removed. This could be a significant contribution to bringing carbon dioxide emissions into balance. I don't know how we do that without stopping emitting the carbon dioxide. Got to do that first, guys. The initiative may break an impasse on dealing with global warming. So this is, I see this as pretty positive. This is great. And I think this is something that people are already aware of and already working on. But, the fact that this should actually be a government effort. This should be something that the government what they're talking about $35 million. What if we're talking about, a few $1 billion going to not just the study of, but the implementing of, and the, rolling out help for people to implement this and giving people land and, letting people take back certain amounts of land for organic farming and permaculture and or rewilding. Magical Thinking Barbie, what's up? Yeah, going south for sure. Later on, let's talk about it. Kent Deal, nature hates balance. Damn it, nature. Make billionaires millionaires again. Oh, did I talk about this? That Bernie Sanders has a new, basically tax the rich plan, which is, of course, Bernie Sanders' plan is much more robust than anybody else's plans. It's a progressive tax on people with money, and it's like, it starts at like, it only really gets to people that are making like $32 million, which is just like beyond insane that anybody has that much money, but then goes on to deal with billionaires. And somehow people are thinking that this is, terrible. Maybe I already talked about this, and I feel like I have, but Andy the Gardener says war is bad for business, though. But true. But the problem is, business is bad for climate change. And climate change is bad for business. So, let's do more war and less fighting climate change. Okay? Because, people need to stay in business. People need jobs. You know what I'm saying? Doug Delane, Bernie. So, other progressive channels have been covering this as well. That Tulsi Gabbard, one of the few people that progressives truly champion, has come out in favor of something called Medicare Choice. She's not really on board with Medicare for all. We're talking about something that's specific to the United States, but we have a terrible, everybody knows we have a terrible medical system, and it looks like the only person that truly supports a Medicare for all system is Bernie Sanders. And he just every other candidate, including the very beloved Tulsi Gabbard, who I really like, they just are not as strong on all the issues that Bernie Sanders is. And definitely Elizabeth Warren is not as strong on Medicare. She's not for Medicare for all. She's for slip sliding around and waffling and being like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm doing my Elizabeth Warren impression. I just think, she just doesn't support Medicare for all. She's just not, she's not on board. And she's a capitalist. She's a centrist in sheep's clothing. Straight up. Bernie is not out of the game. He had the stints is actually a fairly common procedure. He did have some chest pain. He had this procedure done that actually is non-invasive. It's people are up and running, sometimes the same day as this procedure. This is what I've heard. It only takes like a day or two of recovery. It's not the end of his campaign at all. Not on any level. This is not this is not quadruple bypass surgery or double bypass, or it's not open heart surgery on any level. This is stents. Yeah, no, Oswald Springer says Tulsi Gabbard has ties to the Hindu fascist movement. Not really. She's for pluralism. She's for, just like people, Muslim people want, the Muslim faith to be about inclusiveness and, loving your brother and including people of all faiths and walks and breeds and creeds. And same with Christians who want the Christian faith to be about that. Tulsi wants the Hindu faith to be about inclusivity and pluralism. She's not tied to the fascist Hindu. She doesn't support that. That's not true. That's not what she's about. And I feel like that's some misinformation and some propaganda that's put out there. Tulsi Gabbard is very hated by the military industrial complex, by the deep state, by the powers that be. They do not want Tulsi Gabbard anywhere near the debate stage. They don't want her anywhere near the presidency because they absolutely that's their cash cow. The military budget and regime change wars is the cash cow that keeps everything going. So anybody who gets in the way of that, even Trump saying we want peace with North and South Korea. If you get in the way of the military-industrial complex, they're like, nah, man, that's not happening. You're done. We're gonna do whatever we can to get rid of you and get rid of your voice. That's what it's about, and that's really why they hate Tulsi Gabbard. They really hate Tulsi Gabbard. They really are trying to sideline her as much as possible, and they're doing it to Bernie too. Bernie 2020 is turbocharged now with unblocked artery. Exactly. There are a lot of cases where people who have this procedure done come out faster and stronger and bigger because they unblock the artery. Whatever it was that was slowing them down is now relieved, and so physicist, that alone makes her formidable. Yep. Natural progressive. I like Tulsi. I would be happy with her or Bernie. We need a citizens' assembly. Exactly. Well, the other thing about Tulsi Gabbard is she's not, I'm totally behind her anti-war message and her anti-regime change war message. She's not strong on Medicare for all, and she's not as strong as Bernie on some other issues, and it makes her less appealing to me, but I really do like her. I would love to see a Bernie Tulsi ticket, and that would just be head explosion time. Thank you, Magical Thinking Barbie, for the birthday wishes. I like Tulsi too. Yeah, I know a lot of people like Tulsi. I really like the way that she speaks. I like the way that she comes with authenticity. I don't think that she's bought or sold in any way. I don't think she's under the thumb of anybody. She does. I don't think she takes PAC money, and she doesn't take big donor money. She takes small donor money. So, Andy the Gardener says, "I'm just Hambone's lieutenant." Okay. Firecracker says Medicare for all. Exactly. That's the thing I was going to say is Tulsi Gabbard doesn't, she wants to fight, climate change is one of her issues, but she doesn't have the plan that Bernie has for climate change. So seriously, like if you really, climate change is one of the top priorities for Bernie Sanders. He has the biggest, the best, the most far-reaching Green New Deal plan, even though the Green New Deal is problematic, if you want, something that is at least going to go the farthest in tackling climate change, you have to be, You have to vote for Bernie Sanders. You have to vote for Bernie Sanders. If you are in the United States and live in the United States and you want Medicare for all and you want all people to have free medical coverage, you have to vote for Bernie Sanders. I'm sorry, I'm losing the ability to speak. I'm a little, getting a little excited about this, but climate change is related to population growth, so the answer is less people, of course. Bernie Sanders actually addressed this too. He's the only candidate that actually said something like, yes, we need to talk about the population, or giving people access to birth control. And he walked into a minefield, but at least he had the guts to say yes. Every other candidate would be like, I don't know if we can talk about that. I'm sure no other candidate would be willing to walk into that minefield, and Bernie Sanders just did it straight up. Said, yeah. So here's another news story I wanted to cover today before I sign. I'm not going to go too long today, guys. I'm going to go a couple more minutes. Turkish scientist gets 15-month sentence for publishing environmental study. And I got this from Nick Humphrey's page. A Turkish food engineer and human rights activist was sentenced yesterday to 15 months in jail. 15 months in jail after publishing the results of a study he and other scientists had done that linked toxic pollution to a high incidence of cancer in Western Turkey. So he's just pointing out what almost everybody else on the planet knows, that we're destroying the environment. Bülent, I have no idea how to pronounce his name. Bülent Sik, former deputy director of the Food Safety and Agricultural Research Center at Akdeniz University, was convicted of disclosing classified information after he published the results as a 4-part series in a Turkish newspaper in April 2018. Bülent Sik fulfilled his duty as a citizen and a scientist, and he used his right to freedom of expression, his lawyer Kan Atalay said in his closing statement before the sentence was handed down by a court in Istanbul. The study was commissioned by Turkey's Ministry of Health to see whether there was a connection between toxicity in soil, water, and food and the high incidence of cancer in Western Turkey. So this was commissioned by the Turkish government. Working for 5 years, Sik and his team of scientists discovered dangerous levels of pesticides, heavy metals, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons in multiple food and water samples from several provinces in Western Turkey. Water in several residential areas was also found to be unsafe for drinking because of lead, aluminum, chrome, and arsenic pollution. Good Lord. In 2015, after the study was completed, Sik testified and he urged government officials to take action during a meeting to discuss the findings. So here you have a scientist just giving the results of the test he was commissioned to do, or the study he was commissioned to perform, and he gives the results. After 3 years of inaction, Sik testified he decided to publish his findings in Cumhuriyet, an Istanbul newspaper that has been a high-profile target in the government's crackdown on media. So I guess his brother, an opposition member of parliament and a former investigative journalist with Cumhuriyet, he was previously jailed for criticizing the government. What is quite striking in this case is that the Ministry of Health did not argue that what Bülent Sik published was not true. Under Turkish law, Sik could have avoided jail and received a suspended sentence by expressing regret, but he declined to do so when asked by the judge. Hiding data obtained from the research prevents us from having sound discussions about the solutions. Yeah. It's happening all over the world. It seems that in the West, you're silenced in other ways. Although if you're a whistleblower, if you're a real whistleblower, not a CIA, operative whistleblower, if you're a real whistleblower like Julian Assange or Chelsea Manning, you're jailed, you're silenced, you're fired. Whatever it is that needs to happen to silence you. But it's not quite the case with climate scientists, although climate activists, the retribution is ramping up by the powers that be. I'm going to read a few more comments, guys, and then I'm going to have to sign off. Zoxalix says poop loop soup. It's exactly what it is. Going south, GND equals business as usual with a thin green veneer. Yeah, I agree with that. Although I'm saying, sorry, my dog is trying to lean into my desk. She likes to do this. Okay. Although there are some things about, especially Bernie's plan, which is actually kind of it's more detailed than the bill that is, or whatever it's called, the resolution. It's not really an actual bill that's been floating around Congress. It's like just a paper on, this is what the Green New Deal would look like. Hey, we got 82 people watching. That's pretty cool for a random Friday afternoon. But Bernie's plan, there are some things about it that I think are quite positive. Yes, it's all about transforming our economy and transforming our industry and, all that kind of stuff. That is great. A lot of astroturfing and greenwashing. But I think that the Green New Deal, as a policy that Bernie Sanders is presenting, I think it really goes a long way in waking people up to the awareness around it. I mean, I think the thing about the Green New Deal that would actually be negative to me is that if, let's say Bernie Sanders was elected and let's say the Green New Deal was, put forth and passed by Congress and, it was turned into policy and that, this is what was going to happen. I think a lot of people would feel like, oh, they're doing something about climate change. So, they've got it handled, guys. Let's just, business as usual. Let's just carry on and be happy with our lives. And I feel like that's kind of what happened under Obama. That people were like, all right, we got a progressive Democrat in office. And he's, he says he cares about climate change. And for the most part, for most mainstream liberals, they just kind of were like, yeah, they're taking care of it. They're doing something. So, not a big deal. Bernie Keeley says, hello from Japan. Hello to Japan. User number 2, trees create rain. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a weird phenomena that I feel like under Trump, people are more angry, more aware, more, more inspired, I guess, to think about climate change as a big problem, right? Because it's kind of like, well, this guy that says climate change is a hoax, screw that guy, we really got to take this seriously, right? But the opposite happens when you have, a Democrat in office that's like, yeah, I'm going to do something about this. And everybody kind of like, sighs a big sigh of relief, and they're like, whew, all right, somebody's on the case, that's, they're doing something. So anyways, back to whatever it is I was doing. Death Row Planet says permaculture is easy and works. I think the best case scenario would be to have a Green New Deal enacted and for people to still be angry and upset and concerned about climate change and say, okay, the Green New Deal is in place. It doesn't go far enough. We need to do more. We need to do even, maybe possibly what also would be good is to have maybe climate scientist and or Extinction Rebellion and or Greta Thunberg and people who are more on the front lines of climate change, if they could come up with something that's more like a real Green New Deal, like right, a framework for okay, we have this Green New Deal that's kind of rubber stamped by politicians and or industry, and if they could have an alternative, like, okay, this is actually what we need to do to create, and Extinction Rebellion already talks about something like this, going net carbon zero by 2025 or 2030. And they're like, yeah, this is insane. It's a really hard, it's a huge thing to try and strive for, or it's a huge leap for civilization as a whole to do this. However, how would we get there? What would the framework look like? How would we actually get there? We need to be talking about bringing all the troops home and deploying them as a green core. Really restructuring our economy, really restructuring our entire system. Privatizing industry, privatizing, fossil fuel industry, all of this sounds like stuff that would make a lot of people's heads explode, but it needs to be put out there. It really needs to be put out there concurrent with the Green New Deal that everybody else is talking about or signed on to. It needs to go farther, and that needs to be, in the discussion that the Green New Deal is great. It's a good start. It's one half of a step forward, and we, to really take a step forward, this is what needs to happen. Gigabane, we need citizens assembly so we can all contribute to absolutely. And that's that's the other thing that's confusing to me about when people say Extinction Rebellion is trying to get the government to solve the problem, or in the pocket of people that want to, they're talking about a citizens assembly, which is really all about making, taking power and the power to make a decision about this, or the power to create a plan out of the government's hand, right? Citizens assembly is about the people saying, this is the plan we need and want. You must do this plan that we say we need and we want, right? One natural progressive says one easy solution will not do it. It will be a huge sacrifice for everyone. Exactly. And if you communicate it on those terms, that look, guys, this is a, for lack of a better word, war, or this is an emergency situation. This is an extremely dire situation. This is the worst problem that humanity could possibly face, and we need, all hands on deck. And that means we need to be willing to give up the consumerist society that we live in, to give up the consumerism that we all are so accustomed to and fond of, and say, like, look, we're going to have to transform our own lives personally in order to transform our own lives societally, in order to transform everything system wide. Valhalla 5-6, they could start the citizens assembly now on the internet. Beautiful idea. Maybe this is already happening, because it seems to me like whenever I've got like a great brainwave or whatever, as soon as I'm like, oh, this is a great idea, I just type in a couple words and, oh, somebody's already doing this, and probably somebody's already doing this, and on some level we all already are doing this. But that would be a great thing for Extinction Rebellion to do, to start the Extinction Rebellion citizens assembly online. Like, okay, let's just start the process now, so that let's not wait for somebody to go, okay, citizens assembly. Let's make it happen. Stephen Moylan says, all talk, no action here. The brown revolution is coming. The warming planet will kill off white people from skin cancers. Unfortunately, the warming planet will kill off all kinds of people and will hit the poor the hardest. The poor and, people who don't have the money to insulate themselves. And that's well known. That's already well known. I'm not saying that, I'm saying that every single person, be they white, black, brown, green, or whatever, needs to take this problem seriously because it's gonna, yeah, skin cancer is a big problem. Uh, the unfortunate thing, if you're looking for white people to die off first, the unfortunate thing is that white people are probably more insulated from climate change than anybody else. But all people need to take this seriously. Death Row Planet, Kevin, you start a People's Assembly online. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Gigabane, imagine if we did an online global citizen assembly and it ends up becoming the people's new world order. Imagine, if you will, in the words of who said that? My brain just went blank. Who's the guy that did Twilight Zone? Why can't I think of his name? Anybody? Help me out. Rod Serling, that's his name. In the words of Rod Serling, imagine if you will. Yeah, thank you, Natural Progressive. People really need to show Kevin appreciation. Super chat is a good way. If you guys can do it, all good. It's a good reminder. Super chat is there. I'm actually running over time. User number 2 says people in the global south will die first. Yeah, global south and or in the tropics, the tropics are going to heat up very quickly. So anybody in the tropics are going to have a hard time. Australia is having an extremely hard time due to climate change. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, Rod Serling. Going south, Super Chat is illegal in my region, Greenland. Really? Okay. Illegal. Don't you dare do that, Super Chat. The intelligence agencies own everything. You will never end them. I don't know. Gazar, global warming will cause starvation, brown or white. Indeed. That is true. They are tight in Greenland. Going south says Hambone said I was thrown out of the pile of fish. Oswald Spengler. Do you think the Pacific Northwest or New England will be better off as climate chaos unfolds? I used to do a lot of kind of digging into like where would be a good place to move. And as climate change has progressed, it's like the Arctic and the northern latitudes are heating faster than the southern. So I don't know that any place is really a good bet. I know that one of our viewers lives in Eastern Canada, New Brunswick or area. Is that right, Kent? That could be a good place. I don't know. Stephen Moylan says, I'm driving down to Portland in the EV. Anyone want to meet up at Bibba Restaurant? Chamorro, Guamanian cuisine at its finest. Anybody in the Portland area? Hit up Stephen Moylan. I tell people that eventually half the population of Australia will move to New Zealand. That's... is that possible? Well, New Zealand has already started to close their borders, right, to immigrants, right? New Zealand, it's like harder to move to New Zealand now. Am I right about that? Like you need money. Like if you have a couple $1 million, like you could apply for New Zealand citizenship or move to New Zealand. They're like, yeah, come on in. But if you don't have any money and you're like, hey, can I move to New Zealand? At least that's what I heard. I'm not sure if that's correct. Newfoundland and Labrador are good too, says Kent Deal. Oh, Kent Deal, Cape Breton. Melanosphere, Zoxalis, the melanosphere. So is that for the melanomas? Yeah. You know what's crazy? I'm going to end on this point. Um, I think definitely climate change is affecting I mean, everybody has reported about the higher instances of higher UV readings, and it's looking like what's affecting the trees here could be a combination of heat stress and or high UV. Thank you, Valhalla, for the super chat. Thank you. Towards the online citizen assembly. Thank you, bro. Yeah, and yeah, so if we are actually um if we're getting higher UV levels and higher UV saturation, UVA, B, and C, possibly, I'm wondering what that's going to look like in the next 5 years. How that's going to relate, how that's going to turn into possibly higher incidence of skin cancer and or cell breakdown for many people. Like, what kind of diseases is that going to foster? I don't know. It has me extremely worried. I do wear the sunscreen almost anytime I go outside. I wear it daily. Lots of people here wear it daily, and that's a good idea. Boiled rope lamp post says UVC. Kent Deal says Cape Breton is super cheap. Man, you make it sound good. Let's see. Underground would be the best with some type of radiation filters. Probably. I would say the people that have the underground hideouts. We got 92 people, folks, on this live stream. We're almost at 100. Thank you, Natural Progressive. I appreciate you for the super chat. Happy birthday, letting people know that came late. Torstein Gore Vidal. That's a good mashup. Death Row Planet, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about living underground or going deep underground and possibly growing food underground. Thank you, Sean, for the happy birthday wishes. Thank you. People talking about the possibility of living underground, and that's a real possibility. There's also been a lot of talk over the last 5 or 10 years among the conspiracy crowd about all the underground military bases and the underground bunkers, and I'm sure that people are already way on top of this whole living underground idea. And lucky you if you happen to have the golden ticket that gets you into the underground layer. We have 93 people. 94. We're getting so close to 100. So close. Gore Vidal, the late great liberal, reincarnated into this Norge dude. 95. We have 95. We're so close. 96. We're so close. Can we get to 100 before I sign out of here? Human, Yucca Mountain. Yeah, underground. You're saying there's an underground spot there? Yep. Well-documented underground facilities in the Colorado Rockies, Colorado Springs area. All over the East Coast, underground DC is what I've heard. All kinds of underground layers there, or an underground system. The dude says, who cares whose fault it is? It's happening. Firecracker says, I want to live underground. Yeah, I don't know if I share your sentiments. I mean, I think it might be cool for a little while. I also think it might be cabin fever inducing and slightly claustrophobic after a while. Gigabane says, I'm sure there are many bunkers with canned food and bottled water. I wonder how many are living systems. Granite Mountain, Utah. There's an underground railroad going south. Denver Airport. Yes, I've heard about that too. Well, so we got to about 96 viewers. I don't know if we're going to get more. We seem to be hovering right around there. But guys, I got to sign off. I've gone way over my time. Thank you all for joining in. I will be doing this live stream hopefully every Friday. That is my plan right now. So next Friday, let's convene again around the same time, 1 p.m. And don't forget, next Friday, also honor the Friday gas strike. Hopefully you all are honoring the Friday gas strike today. Next Friday, Friday gas strike. It's ongoing every single Friday. Do not buy gas. And if you can take it farther and not drive at all, that would be great. That is all for me today. Thank you so much for joining in and for being a part of this. And I will see you on the next go round.